Ms. Gardner, aside from having to talk to media today, how is your day going there?
Good, good. Slowly but surely. I have coffee off camera, so I'm doing great.
You can keep that coffee on camera. I empathize with all that. But living with Chucky, West Coast premiere at Screamfest, how long did you have to keep that a secret for?
Oh goodness, months and months, which is hard for me considering I'm a SoCal resident, so all my friends and family are out here, and I wanted to tell everybody right away so that they could book tickets, but now I can, so it's okay.
So does that mean months or weeks that you had to keep it a secret?
Months.
Months. Okay. Now, when people are making Christmas albums, Hanukkah albums, whatever their holiday of choosing, you usually find out that they made it in July for it to come out in November or December. In this case, a movie like this just has to be high profile in October. So what was the deal with like making it during non-Halloween times, non-Fright Fest times?
Yeah, it was interesting. It's so weird. Yeah, because all of the deadlines for the horror film festivals are really like the beginning of the year, like June. And so it's kind of just like submitting and then playing the waiting game of like whether or not you're going to get in places, which is super anxiety inducing. But it's fun. It kind of gives you something to look forward on top of looking forward to the holiday and Halloween season already, which is nice. But it is weird that you're like surrounded, for me at least, like surrounded by, I literally have Chucky right here, like surrounded by stuff all the time, and like editing something that's more Halloween-y in like, the middle of June. People are like, what is happening?
Yeah. In this case, family ties to the franchise mean if I say, so how long were you working on this? You can go, my whole life. But really, how long were you working on this particular documentary?
Oh, goodness. Probably since 2016/2017. Only because it started as a short film when I went to Florida State. So in like, if you really want to count that time since then, but I really started pursuing making it a feature starting like my senior year of college, of gathering more interviews, like and filming. Alex Vincent lives in Florida, so I just drove down to his music studio on a weekend and got him since I was in Florida. But it's kind of been spread out over the years of getting interviews with people when I could, where I could, and then COVID put a major halt to everything. So it's been several years.
Were rights clearances a tough part of this project, or family ties helped that one along?
You would think that family ties help that one along, but the law does not care who your family is. Yeah, I that was a main struggle of mine, was just getting clearance and kind of figuring out how that process works. I had some, I was led down some pathways that were actually incorrect in trying to handle some of that too. So that took a long time to kind of come back and figure that out. But I actually was at a friend's wedding, James Janice, who's in the documentary. I went to his and Chelsea's wedding, and there I met Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street. And I was like complaining about trying to figure this stuff out. And she's like, you should use my fair use attorney. And so I should have put a special thanks in there to freaking Heather Langenkamp, because she saved the day. And I just love that for this horror documentary, that somebody from another amazing franchise saved the day with legal clearances.
The franchise that you just mentioned is another one of those where it went from cool to really cool, to uncool, to cool, to uncool, and it did it back and forth. You can say the same about Star Wars, the Muppets, most things that last a long time. When did you start to notice that Chucky was going to be around, not forever, but for the long term, even if the movies weren't the greatest?
I think it was honestly experiencing seeing Cult of Chucky in theaters with people, because my short documentary, which was called The Dollhouse at the time, opened for Cult of Chucky at Toronto After Dark and Fright Fest, and seeing that in person, like the fan base response, I was like, oh, I hope they make another movie, because people clearly want it. It's not that it's died out and people are like, ugh, another one. Like, people are really big diehards of it.
For sure. As a person that covers not just entertainment, but food and drinks, Elysian Brewing sent me a kit that was Chucky curated and Chucky interrupted the press call. Was that something that was on your radar?
I've seen that. I've seen Christine Elise has gotten some of the beer, and I saw Jennifer Tilly tweet that she wanted some. I was tempted to be like, where the heck is my Chucky beer? Because that's really funny and very smart. Did it taste good?
Yeah, I mean, it's beer. If you like Elysian brewing, you'll love this kind of beer. Is that the most diplomatic way of putting it? Because
Yes.
some people, they just like Bud Light, and other people, they want a quadruple IPA.
Yeah.
That's how I go with that. So now being on the Chucky inside on your own right, do you get to see the sci-fi series before it comes out or anything like that?
No.
Okay, go.
I watch it alongside everybody else when they're seeing it. But my dad and I did just sit down on Wednesday, and we watched the first episode together, it was fun to see him kind of pick apart his own work, which is what I do when I watch my own stuff. And then other stuff really point out, like the shot of all those Chuckies on top of the van looks so good. And they had to shoot that individually. It's not like they had 10 Chuckies going at a time. They digitally had to do each one. That's crazy. So it was really cool to watch together.
For sure. Well, you mentioned, picking apart your work. When you're working on something like this for 5, 6, 7 years, and now you have to do months of media talking about it, and it tours the festival for months, and it kind of never ends. But I'm sure as a creative person, you're going, this is what I want to work on next. Are you allowed to say what's next?
I think so. I don't know. Yeah, it's been interesting how long your baby has sort of been incubating of a movie, and then you finish it and you're like, thank God. And then you have to talk about it for several months, but that's the part of the job. You're trying to get people interested in but by that time you're so jaded because you've already seen your own movie 10,000 times. So I'm literally doing closed captioning for my movie in the other room right now. And I'm like, I've seen this so many times. But next for me, I would love to step into narrative again. That's my main goal, is to be in narrative horror. So I'm currently writing a feature script of mine. I'll hopefully be doing a short horror film in the interim, because that'll take a while. And I'm also writing on like a horror thriller script with a friend of mine, which hopefully we might shoot next year.
That was actually my follow-up question there was answered, because most people, when they make a full-length documentary, they don't realize how much darn work it is, and they go, I'm not making another documentary. So you're pivoting towards narratives and feature-length non-documentaries.
Yes. Well, the thing was, I actually never even wanted to go into the documentary genre. Even in film school, I was like, oh, like me, we got to do a documentary class for a semester. I hate this. And then I ended up falling in love with it. But yeah, did not realize how insanely hard it is to make, but also edit, because I also edited this, a documentary. I did shoot and direct a documentary on the making of the Foo Fighters movie that came out earlier this year.
Oh, you worked on the Studio 666.
Yes. So actually, while I was finishing this documentary, I was also shooting for the Foo Fighters. So I've been filming for them intermittently the past 2 years. The first day of footage was December in 2019, and then my last day of filming was February of this year. Obviously, with Taylor passing away, it's a touchy subject, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes or cross any lines, but I do hope that it gets turned into a feature documentary so people can see how much fun and heart the band put into this together. But I just don't want to edit it. I'm done editing docs. That's insane. So yeah, hoping to just go back into narrative and leave that behind for now. I'll revisit it later.
I can imagine, and now I know I have to see Studio 666. I saw the long form trailer. I loved the Foo Fighters for many years. So now I know I have to see this, especially because you worked on it. But the last thing I have for you, before I let you go, when you shoot a documentary, let's say it's 90 minutes long, you probably filmed 25 hours of interviews at least, and then you licensed more footage than you actually used, et cetera, or fair use in your case, thanks to Heather. Could be a lot of good stuff on the cutting room floor. If we ever get a Blu-ray or DVD release, you think we'll see some of that?
They started talking about that. I started talking about that with my sales team of like bonus feature footage or a director's cut. And I was like, dear God, a director's cut could literally be 4 hours. And definitely bloopers. I would hope so. I personally don't want to edit it, but I would be happy to do so. Only because there's some great stuff in there from everybody. There's this bit where it was my first time meeting Jennifer Tilly in her interview. And by the end, I was like, by the way, everybody else said they were so intimidated by you at first when they met you. And her response was so funny. She was like, really? Well, if I'm just like such a force, then I guess I can't be mad at people. It was really funny. So there's some really candid moments that would be fun to share with people. So hopefully that happens.
Indeed. Well, thank you for your time and looking forward to whatever comes out next. Congratulations on finishing this, getting it out, and getting a high profile festival premiere, because that does not happen to everybody.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your time too.
Paltrocast.